All right, man. We're back at it. Part two. So where I left off, suffer fools gladly. So this is basically saying he's talking about if you find yourself around somebody who acts like a child or like just not all the way up here or just acts adversely in like weird interests, you gotta learn how to play it. You feel me? So so I'm gonna give y'all two of the anecdotes that he used to describe this. So first there was a poet named John Wolfgang Johann Wolfgang Goethe or Goff. I guess this is Van Gogh or whatever. So oh yeah, this is Van Gogh. Oh so John I didn't know that was his own name. So he basically he got invited to be a part of the king's court. The Duke the Duke's court or whatever, like his people like that he have around him. And he thought he was gonna, have all of it. Like he thought it was gonna be a certain way, right? When really it was just a bunch of basically he felt like there was a bunch of dummies, bro. They ain't do nothing but sit around, talk gossip, and really talk about stuff that wasn't really important. But it was like a lot of drama and like really a lot of politics. So what he did was because he wanted to try to change that system and make it more productive, but he was like, he really had a better idea and said, nah, I'm gonna just let them do them. I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm gonna just take in all of this stuff that they talk about and I'm gonna use it to write. And that's how he got a lot of characters for like his writings and plays and stuff like that. I think that's what it said. Um, yeah, that's what he got. That's what he got a lot of stories and characters for his novels and stuff. And then another one, there was this actor and there was this director. He shot movies and stuff, and he got a there was this actor that he worked with, and the actor he was like the center of attention type of guy. He'll try to make stuff difficult on bro for no reason, and he just learned how to finesse it. Like so, if dude was acting like he didn't want to do nothing, the actor if he was acting like he didn't want to do nothing, he'd go sit in his little whatever like his actor's booth, whatever they have. The director will go out and start giving another one of the actors or actresses. He'll start giving them a lot of attention and a lot of praise because he knew that'll get bro ego and make him come out and try to you know what I'm saying go hard. You feel me? So you just gotta learn how to play the situation to you know what you what you gonna get right. So that's the four strategies for acquiring social intelligence. Um, Next, we have. Okay, so this is chapter 5. It says awaken the dimensional mind. Oh, I'm trying to put some lotion on my hand, gang. You know what I'm saying? Trying to put some lotion on. So there's basically he says there's three kinds of mind that you have, right? You have the original mind, which is your mind as a child. And the mind as a child, the original mind, is naturally more explorative and inquisitive about things, and it's not bogged down by all of these conventions of the world and like social constructs and like ways of thinking that are already predefined. And, as a child, you don't know nothing, so you just have the most random of thoughts about this and that, and your mind follow those thoughts. Like your mind has no bounds in like what the ways that it thinks about things. And then you have the conventional mind, which is your worldly mind, which is, like I said, once you start to learn things, you learn your social constructs and how things work together, like what you're supposed to do, like driving on the right side of the road, like stuff like that. Like you just learn how things are set to be. And as we grow, you tend to get more and more ingrained in, using your conventional mind and not your original mind. So the third type of mind is your dimensional mind, which is a mix of the two. And it's basically knowing how things work and having a lot of knowledge of something, but also having the openness and the flexibility to be creative with those things that you know and try to discover new paths and new avenues and new ways of thinking. That's what the dimensional mind is. That's basically what creativity is. You working out of your dimensional mind. So it's extensive knowledge and openness and flexibility to try to bend that. So he has a couple of steps. Let me slow down. there are a couple of steps that he lays out to how you can get in touch with your dimensional mind and how you can tap into that. So the first one being finding a creative task. And basically something that you can do to like try to help you be creative. So and I wrote down some notes up under that. So it says being creative takes a lot of years of effort. You have to gain a lot of context and make a lot of connections in the mind to be creative. Like, you ever realize like when certain, like how like a lot of rap music might sound the same? And I realize it's because like most people who rapping, like I said, most people who rapping, they're not learning anything new. They're doing the same things all the time. And so it's like all the music sound the same. You know what I'm saying? But if you take somebody like, this is what I said, this is why I like people like Money Man. Or this is why I like people like Youngboy. You know what I'm saying? Because they incorporate different types of things. And most specifically Money Man. Money Man is my favorite artist for this. He's always doing something new. He's always learning something and he puts it into music. That's why he can make so many different projects that sound so different, but they all sound nice. You know what I'm saying? But and he took time to curate that. Like it takes time to be in anything. It takes time to be good at it. And it says next it says the task must be something you connect with to understand the setbacks. To withstand the setbacks. So if you're doing something you're not really passionate about, when you hit those road bumps and you hit those stalemates where you feel like you can't figure out the next thing and you don't know where to go, if you're not really passionate about what you're doing, you're just gonna quit. Like if Jordan wasn't passionate about basketball, if Kobe wasn't passionate about basketball, he wouldn't never develop that fadeaway. You know what I'm saying? If Tom Brady wasn't passionate about football, he wouldn't be slinging that thing. If Wall Street Trapper wasn't passionate about the stock market and the game, he wouldn't be swinging $400,000, $500,000, $300,000, $200,000 plays. He wouldn't be making millions in the market off trades. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't because the any journey you get on is gonna come with times where you just be like, dang, like it knock you down, and you gotta really want to do it to push through that. Next thing I wrote down, it says the primary law of the creative dynamic is your emotional commitment will transmute directly to your work. So you can't really just be in something for money. Like you gotta have a feeling behind it, because if you have a feeling behind it, you're gonna naturally want to put more into it and give more value to whatever you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm making these videos, once I start talking, I get into it. Like I didn't plan on grabbing the book and opening it up, but I just felt like I wanted to give that to y'all. Like whatever you're doing, like you just gonna naturally like you gonna have more gusto behind it. You feel me? If you really feel it, like if you ain't just doing it for the money, if you just doing it for the money, or you just doing it for some girls, you gonna quit. Facts. Pick something. So next, pick something that feels somewhat rebellious. And for me, I feel like I go against the grain of like the conventional mind because I want to. It might sound like the most. It might sound like it make the most sense to do, but you gotta understand the majority of the people don't. The majority of the people just gonna work jobs and do whatever, and that's fine. But I plan on going against the grain and buying my freedom back with the stock market and doing whatever. Or like clothes. I feel like clothes is a way to be rebellious because you're showing your own style. You can be. If you're not following the meta, like if you're not following just what everybody else wearing and you doing your own thing, and I'm not saying you can't throw one of them fits on there now and then, but if you just dressing how everybody dressing at the time, so I find it to be rebellious is saying like, I'm gonna just wear what I feel like look good. You know what I'm saying? And I like clothes. I'm passionate behind it. You know what I'm saying? So next it says let go of the need of comfort and security. You just got to jump in that water. That's basically what he's saying. You just got to get out there. Like when I started this YouTube, like I didn't care what nobody thought. I didn't care about being comfortable. I didn't care about if it was going to work or not. I just do it. Like when I started trading, I care about if it worked, but at the end of the day, you just gotta start doing it. Like you can't be scared to lose no money. Because if you're scared to lose money, you're scared to make money. You can't operate in this world from a place of lack because this gonna give you lack. You know what I'm saying? Next, if you're worried about others, you'll never create anything. You can't please everybody. There's billions of people in this world. And everybody views not gonna line up with yours. So if you sitting there trying to make people happy, if you just don't do something, then you never gonna make nothing. Because if that's your reasoning why, then you never gonna do nothing. Because everybody not gonna feel what you feel, and everybody not gonna see what you see. Everybody gonna have something to say. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well just do what you want to do. And this next one is a quote. It says, "An explorer will never find anything if he isn't willing to leave the shore." An explorer will never find anything if he isn't willing to leave the shore. Think about Christopher Columbus. If he didn't sail all the way across, maybe they wouldn't have found all this stuff in America and brought all that shit back. Like, he wouldn't have found nothing. You know what I'm saying? Next is creative strategies. So it says, your mind is a muscle. Work it. Try to be creative. Try to put things together. It says people generally get caught up in thinking the same way forever, because it's consistent and it's familiar. You do the same things all the time. It's just easy to do, easy to get done. You know, humans are creatures of habit and comfort, so it's in your best interest to go against the grain, but that's not what you're hardwired to do. Like I said, listening to different types of music. Rollo Rodriguez. Yeah, Rollo, he real versatile. That's what I meant to say earlier when I was talking about music. It might have been in this part or the other part. But Rollo Rodriguez, if you don't know, see, Rollo just went mainstream. Really, really. But I've been listening to Rollo for years. I'd probably say like since 2019, 2020. 2019, 2020. When I was really listening to Rollo. You feel me? So, free game. Go for Rollo Rodriguez. Full P up. Can't be full with. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and when you work hard, your focus gets really narrowed. Like when you're doing something and you're really into it, you kind of get like tunnel vision on this one thing you're trying to do. And it's good to like take a step back and get away from it for a little while so you can let like new thoughts flow to your mind. And that's another thing he talked about later on in this book is serendipity of the mind. And I'll get on that too. So another thing he put is cultivate a negative capacity. And these are the things I wrote down behind that. So there's a poet named John Keats, right? And he says what he does is he doesn't assert assumptions on things too early. He allows himself to be open to things like when they first come across when he first experiences them or when he first learns about it or something. He doesn't like try to figure it out. He just lets it be and lets his mind simmer on those thoughts. And that's how he come out with like new ideas for music. New ideas for things. And I was gonna say, I brought up music because that's what Mozart did. Mozart would listen to all kinds of different music. So I keep pointing out because that's a nice parallel. And that's how Mozart became who he was, and he was able to master so many different styles and incorporate so many different things into his music because he allowed himself to not, like, if the masses were saying, oh, that type of music is too slow or it's too loud or it's too whatever, he will still listen to it. Or like, he uses keynotes that are too high or something like that. He would still listen to that music and take what he could from it and incorporate into the things he was doing. Let's see what time we at. Okay, straight. So he says scientists often fall victim to this through confirmation bias. So what a lot of times people go into like an experiment or something they're trying to figure out and they'll go into it with a hypothesis or something they already feel or like a bias towards like how they feel like it's going to go. And that'll influence how they interpret the results. It'll influence how they conduct the experiment or it'll influence how they interpret the results and things. And a lot of times people don't want to go against something because of that. Like they already feel like it's true, so they don't question it. You know what I'm saying? So you can practice having a negative capacity by reading books on different topics and different schools of thought. So if you go, I have a video on my page with my book collection. You see, I got a decent amount of like different kind of stuff. I have novels, I have business history, I have biographies, I have stuff about like the mind, like sociology. just different things. I want to expand. I want to get different perspectives on things, to be able to have different ideas and different viewpoints on it. So that's something I was already kind of doing before I read this, and I continue to buy more books all the time. So, and try not to be in a permanent. This is my fault. This isn't a permanent state of mind when you're like trying to look for new ideas and expand your mind or whatever. Like there's a time for you to be super focused on what you're trying to figure out, and then there's a time for you to like try to step back and let new ideas flow to you, right? So yeah, just wanted to point that out. And then, like I said, that leads to my next point. That's where the serendipity comes from. So that's when, like I say, you allow things to come to you naturally when you're doing different things. So like if you working out, or you riding your bike, or you just laying there letting your mind go like before you go to sleep. You ever notice like when you're doing things like that, or you going for a walk, all of these thoughts and ideas come to your mind because your mind is it's rested. It's like it's open to those new things. It's allowing things to come into your mind like naturally. And your brain your brain is made for like making connections between different things. So if you allow your brain, like if you offload your brain and give it the space to like just circle through the things that you've been learning lately or the things that you've been putting into it, it'll make connections to the things. You just have to give it the time to do that. You have to give your mind the space to do that, your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. Because things are always in your subconscious mind working, well, on whatever you feed it. And that's where those connections are made. So like you see how people get real good at freestyling, like Lil Wayne, he was real good at freestyling because he knew a lot of different things and he had done it so many times. And he probably like just be out living life. And it's like when you chill, like your mind just gonna connect to different things and like let you do whatever you do or whatever. That's how I come up with a lot of my ideas when I'm walking. Like when I'm walking my dog or I'm walking around my apartment complex, that's when I get a lot of my ideas. That's why I take so many walks. I take about three, maybe 4 walks a day. Yeah, so this is when you so you have to reduce the amount of stimuli to your brain. Like I said, you have to like chill, like just, let your mind go on autopilot and you'll see what I mean. It said I wrote down breakthroughs occur in relaxed states. So when we aren't thinking about particular tasks, like I said, taking a step back, and that's how I already know that, bro. Because I already ran through all of this just talking, and I'm getting into my notes. It's just like, So this takes 2 steps. So when you're doing something, you widen your search and you take in as much information as possible that you can on like whatever you're doing. Like take in as much information as possible. You might not feel like you're using all of it at the moment, but just take a peek at it. Like when I'm researching stocks, I just read different random little stuff about that business or like another business adjacent to it, because all of that information will help you in some way. And maybe not all of it, but you're gonna get something that you can make a connection to and help you figure, And step 2 is to take a break away from work, like I said, and follow those random ideas you get. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever you sit there, be like, oh damn, that would be a good idea to do this. Like I got a couple of things I'm gonna do with my Instagram and I just random little thoughts I had. Those fleeting thoughts and those fleeting ideas can lead you to millions of dollars if you just follow them and curate them and incubate them and, take care of them like your little baby. You know what I'm saying? Like take care of your thoughts, bro, and bring them to fruition. That's a true form of power. Being able to take something out of your mind and make it happen in the real world. That's real power. You know what I'm saying? I'll talk about that. So next, where we at time-wise? Okay. How many more pages I got? Okay. 2 more pages? Yeah. All right. So there's alternate through the current mind. So this is 4. So 1 was this. So these are the steps to awakening your dimensional mind. So 1 was find your creative task. 2 was creative strategies. And then the 2 creative strategies were cultivate a negative capacity and allow for serendipity, right? So now we're on the 4th one. Is to alternate the mind through the current. It's a thing called the current, right? So it says there's a constant dialogue between our thoughts and reality, right? And you need to following an idea to find out what it means. Like I said, those fleeting thoughts you have, that's the dialogue between your thoughts and reality. Because it's something that's real, it can be attained, it just isn't there yet. I feel like that's the dialogue between the real world and your mind. Those thoughts you have. Like those thoughts you have are coming from the world. And so an example of this was we have ancestors that used to track footprints and stuff. Because remember, people couldn't always talk. Like everything is learned. So it said back like our early ancestors when they would have to find footprints and stuff like that and signs that things had passed by, they had to deduce that knowledge. They had to have these thoughts and be like, well, this could mean this could mean that. This could mean something stepped right here. So let me follow those tracks and let me see if something really stepped right here. Let me see if something really came through here. Like you have to follow that thought. Right? It says, I have the power of abstraction. The mind has come to find out. The power of abstraction. The mind has to find out. To discover things like laws of nature. Okay, so it says the power of abstraction. It said then the mind has to find out and discover things like laws of nature or evolution. So the mind has the power to really figure things out and pull things together. And it's like that's a really powerful thing that the mind can do. Like to be able to abstract things that you can't clearly see with your eyes. And that's why I put the laws of nature or like the laws of evolution by Charles Darwin. Because this is something you see. This is something you have to study and conceptualize and put meaning to, like how people act. Like I said, the laws of human nature by Robert Greene or the 48 laws of power. Or like, let's say evolution by Charles Darwin. Like you have to abstract these things and like really think about it and put a framework behind it and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And you have to follow those thoughts you have, like, oh, it could be this. Well, it could be that. You have to follow that and nurture it and let it see where it takes you. Next, it says the fear of speculation masquerades as skepticism, and being scared to be wrong or like trying to seem smart. So I like the way he broke this one down. He talked about how like a lot of times scientists won't want to go against the grain and try to disprove somebody else's theory because they don't want to be wrong. But it's like that can stop you from discovering something great or being great. And and he said they try to pass it off as, oh, I'm just skeptical. Nah, you really just hope. Like you really just scared to go after what you think going on. Like, man, you want to start that clothing brand? Nah, this ain't gonna do it. Nah, you just scared. Tight beat, bro. Next, it says alter your perspective. So it says thinking is an extended form of vision of the world, and your creativity is what allows you the ability to expand that vision beyond the conventional boundaries. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So what happens in your mind? You can do way more in your mind immediately than you can do out in the world. So if you see something, like say I see this tree outside, I can think of a billion different things to do with that tree in my mind. That's allowing me to think outside of the conventions of what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what he said about that. And he lists some shorthands to thinking, right? So common shorthands to that people have when they're thinking. So the first one is looking at what and not how something is. You know what I'm saying? Don't look at if your business not working, if something going wrong, you have to look at how all of the pieces of the business work together. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just as simple as, oh, people don't like my product. It could be your employees not passing along information fast enough to get certain things done the right way. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at the connections between things. You have to look at the how, not necessarily just what's going on. You feel me? Two, looking at generalities and not details. So going from a macro look to a micro look on things, a macro from a macro aspect to a micro aspect. Three, confirming paradigms and ignoring anomalies. So a paradigm is basically like a generally accepted way things are, and then the anomalies are the things that stand out. And people tend to ignore like, oh, that's just a one-off, that's just a whatever. But there's actually more information in the anomaly than the general consensus because it's different. So that could provide you a lot more value than, you know what I'm saying, just looking at what the majority is doing. And some things he talked about here, he says this lady named Marie Curie or Lurie, she discovered radioactivity. And Larry Page and Sergey Brin when they made the Google algorithm. So the thing that makes Google what Google is, so before people would the way search engines worked before is that they would rank the pages based off how many times a particular subject was mentioned in that particular article or whatever, or like on that particular page. But what Google did was they said, we're going to rank them by how many other sources reference this particular source. And that gives you a lot more useful links when you Google something. If you ain't know that, that's how Google works. And then number 4, fixating on what's present and ignoring what's absent. And I feel like this is a cool one. And he talked about Sherlock Holmes and one of the little mysteries. How he solved the mystery was that I think somebody died or somebody got murdered, somebody stole something, whatever. And they was trying to figure out like who did it. And what he did was he said, okay, these people have a dog. Why didn't the dog bark? Right? So from that, he deduced that since the dog didn't bark, the person who committed the crime must have been somebody that the people knew because the dog was comfortable not barking when they came up. You know what I'm saying? Fixating on what's present and ignoring that what's absent. Again. And finally, number 5. Revert back to primal forms of intelligence. So it says our primitive ancestors used other forms of intelligence before we could like think. I mean, before we could speak. And like they're different. And there's a book I want to get. It's called The Frames of Intelligence or the Different Kinds of Intelligence or something. But there's different kinds of intelligence. Like you can have book smarts. You can have kinetic intelligence or mechanical intelligence, where like you have like a heightened sense of connectivity to your body. Like athletes have a high level of that. Or like spatial intelligence, like when our ancestors used to have to like really track their way through the woods and across like bodies of water and stuff with no compasses. Like they ain't have no iPhone, bro. Like them boys couldn't just take me down to the Shakahuka clan, take a left at the big rock. Like man, the boy couldn't do that. The boy had to really figure out like how to navigate. Like that's a form of intelligence. Or like working with your hands, like being able to build things. Like that's a form of intelligence. So everything ain't just book smart, bro. And he said, he also says that language limits the ability to communicate a lot of things. And that's true because grammar and all it's structured. Like you can only speak in certain ways. You can only describe so much with words. Versus like if you know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? Like that's where that comes. Like you can only say so much with words, and you can only say them certain ways, and that might not always really convey how you feel in like the point or idea that you're trying to get across. Like it's not a word for everything. You know what I'm saying? It's not a phrase for everything. It's not a term for everything. You can't describe everything with words. Like you get your heart broke, you can say a lot of stuff, but you don't really know how it feels to them old bleeding. You know what I'm saying? It's another thing I wrote. It says thinking in images allows for thinking in greater detail. So the guy that made the periodic table, his name is Dmitry Mendeleev. Hold up, Mendeleev. I think that's his name. I don't know. These names be weird, bro. But he said when he made the periodic table, it just flashed to him in like a dream or something, or like he was laying down and like he saw every like all the elements laid out in whatever order. Like it just came to him, and he he thought in pictures like or people like not Henry Ford or like Thomas Edison, like inventors and stuff. They think in pictures because they can think about the inner workings of how things work in the mechanics. Like you can't explain that in words, but you can see those gears and stuff turning in your head. Like y'all ever seen like one of them 360 cameras and you can go all like around something like inside something like a drone. Like you can move all around. Like that's basically how your mind works. Like you can navigate your ideas like that versus like language just being like the roads in the street. Like you can only see things from certain perspective. Like you can only get certain points across if you driving in the car and you on the road. But if you got a drone, you can go up, down, upside down. Like you can look all around and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I just came up with that one off the top. Ooh, look at that analogy, boy. Off the top, boy. Come on now. And next it says, visualization serves the needs of your mind in the moment. And Leonardo da Vinci says that drawing and thinking are synonymous. Like making something, like drawing something out and how your mind thinks. He saw that as literally the same thing. And then the last thing I wrote was says something called the creative breakthrough, tension and insight, right? And this is the last section. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this one out. I ain't even going to break this one down. So masters have very high standards. People that master things have really high standards for themselves and where they feel like they should be and where they can't be in the things that they do. Work gets frustrating and stale sometimes. So take a break. Like I said, allow for those moments to come to you, those serendipitous breakthroughs, like when you out with your friends and you're doing whatever and you're not thinking about your work. That when you had them ideas, that when you figure stuff out. I remember a lot of times when I was in school and I would have coding projects that I was working on. Like a lot of times I'd think of the answer to my coding project while I was doing something else. While I wasn't even remotely thinking about my work. That's when I would figure out how to solve the lab or like how to work this particular function. Losing initial excitement allows us to step back and rework our ideas. And that's true. Not having that once the hype got down and you kind of start to see what you're doing for what it really is. That's when you're able to look at your own ideas from like a step back point of view and like kind of work it out and see what's right and what's wrong with it. Like I said before, your ideas continue to work in your subconscious mind. So you might not be thinking about it like actively. Your mind working on it, bro. Your mind is working on it below the surface. There's a need for attention. 1831. Yeah. Oh. So there was a guy in 1831. His name was Avartus or something like that. And he was like a math, like he was real good at math. So, but he got into it with some dude, and them boys was like, fuck, we gonna duel to the death. Like, them boys really about to go out there and stab it out. You know what I'm saying? So, them boys supposed to meet like the next day or something like that. So, bruh felt like he was gonna die. So, before the duel that next day, bro, he was just in the crib all night, like just writing out all this crazy math stuff. And like all the shit he wrote was like groundbreaking. Like it led to like a lot of the math and stuff we have today or whatever. And that tension of him feeling like he was about to die, like just let all that flow out of him. Like, and bro, he did get killed. He did lose the duel, but you know, hey, he got right on the math though. So that tension that he was facing, that adversity he was facing, like freed up his mind or whatever. Feeling like you have time causes you to not go as hard. Self-explanatory. Give yourself due dates. and try to stick to them. But like, feel like you got to do this now. You know what I'm saying? And so an example of that would be, and this is the last thing we'll talk about on my last point. And this is far from the end of the book, but this is all I wrote. Well, nah, because it's chapter 5. It's only 6 chapters, so I think it's like 8 chapters. Let me see. That's 5. 6. Yeah, it's only 6 chapters. So Thomas Edison, before he would like drop a new like invention or something, he would just tell everybody in the public before it was time. He'd be like, hey, like, what is it? It's September 30th. He'd be like, y'all boy, I'm dropping that new radio in November 30th. Nowhere near done. But that's how he put pressure on himself to deliver. So yeah, man, that's everything I got from the book Mastery. I really enjoyed this book. I got a lot of good nuggets of information, a lot of good frameworks to live by. Go check out my other book reviews. And yeah, man, that's it. Part 2. Done for.